Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Nerds on Tap, the podcast where we geek out over a pint or a flight and ponder the possibilities of future tech. I'm your host, Tim Shoop, and for those that know me, they call me Shoop Dog, a tag that started when I served in the United States Navy way back yonder, so something y'all didn't know about me. As you know, we always bring special guests on the show, but today we are starting a new series called What If?, where I'll be exploring emerging technologies that might reshape our world in the near future. Very exciting stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And for this series, we're bringing on Sam, the IT guy. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you may have seen the video that's been heavily circulating on social media, YouTube, and Hulu called Chaos to Calm, where the star of that show is Sam, the IT guy. A little about Sam. He worked for a company, actually the company in the video, as their IT guy. He was underpaid and overworked, and the staff was so demanding on him, he actually started to see them as zombies. That is, until Digital Boardwalk came to the rescue. And, of course, Digital Boardwalk is our major sponsor for Nerds on Tap. Digital Boardwalk is a nationally recognized managed IT services firm located in Pensacola, Florida, and they will take your company from chaos to calm when it comes to cloud management, cybersecurity, IT, and anything technology related. So now Sam today enjoys a very calm life with our help co-managing that company. If you haven't seen it, you can also go to Digital Boardwalk TV on YouTube to check it out. It's pretty funny. So welcome to the show, Sam.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
Are you ready to throw your mind at the first episode of What Ifs and get our audience thinking about what the future might look like for all of us?
Oh, I am so excited to dive through the possibilities.
Yeah?
Oh, yes.
All right, so for those of you who haven't tuned in before, and for you, Sam, the IT guy, we always start the show off with our first beer tasting. So today we have Deeves producing, Deeves, take it away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nerds on Tap. I'm your host, Tim Shoop, and I couldn't be more excited to embark on this nerdy adventure with all of you. So grab your favorite brew because things are about to get exciting.
3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, so our first beer for today is our Hofbrau Original Helles-style beer. This comes from Hofbrau Brewery in Munich, Germany. And its description has always been told as a luminous golden yellow with foamy white crown, slightly malty, fully bodied, mature, and with an elegant finish.
All right. I am going to turn my phone off because our receptionist is calling me right in the middle of the show.
Oh, no.
All right, let's give it a taste.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorites to keep in my beverage cooler at home. It reminds me of Germany. It's got a nice weedy hop to it. A lot of German beers have that Weiss, that wheat kind of flavor. This brings a little bit of that to it. What are you getting out of it?
I am getting alcohol out of it.
Okay, Sam, the IT guy, likes alcohol. The Deeves, what do you think?
It's definitely a keeper. I might have to put this one on my daily drinking list.
All right. So, although we like beer on this show, the show is about technology and entrepreneurs and business. Today, it will be all technology. Yes. So, let's everybody sit back, grab your favorite brew, settle in, and let's unleash our imaginations. It's time to ask, what if? So, first up, let's talk about the possibility. Now, this is something that I've always wanted. Now, and I understand the intricacies and problems that can arise in trying to develop this type of technology. Now, this It goes all the way back to, of course, Thomas Edison and Tesla. But I mean, that's the origination, the origin of electricity, right? So what about wireless electricity? So, Sam, what if you could charge your devices just by walking into a room? Imagine a world where tangled cords and chargers are a thing of the past. What do you think?
That would be wonderful. There's obviously concerns that pop up like immediately. Because if I wanted to walk into a room to just charge my phone, what if I have a pacemaker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So safety concerns.
Right.
You're hitting on the
100%.
safety. So
100%.
So, wow.
Right.
Okay, that's like going through a metal detector at the airport, right?
Right. Exactly.
So
And as
talk
someone
about
who, when I was a child, stuck enough forks in light sockets, I know electricity ain't fun. So that one, I guess the way they would have to do the wireless electricity, they would have to have some kind of receivers, right? Like it wouldn't be able to just be like, hey, I've walked into an area of electricity. I'm lit up now.
Well, let's talk about that. So obviously you have it. You're still going to have a grid. It's just like the internet. With the internet, you have a grid, right? You have repeaters. You have routers. You have repeaters. You have a network of networks built around the entire world. But there are hubs,
Right.
Major points where those signals originate and bounce, right? So with electricity, you have power poles, right? Or it's underground in some places, but power poles, and you have repeaters on those big transformers. That's basically what it does. The signal attenuates, it gets smaller before it gets to the next pole, and then the next pole blows it up and makes it bigger, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So that's how the internet works in a very similar fashion. So let's talk about that. Once it gets to your house, now I'm talking about wireless electricity in your home. I'm not talking about out on the grid. That would be a whole nightmare.
Right.
I mean, we'd have things falling out of the sky, I think. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to your house, so once it gets to your house, couldn't it be treated with a transmitter similar to a wireless access point in computer networking? I mean, when we deliver Wi-Fi to a house, what do you have? You have a router, maybe it's a wireless router, and you might have APs hanging around.
Exactly.
So dive in. Tell me from Sam, the IT guy's perspective, geek out on it for a minute and give me what you got. And Deeves, feel free to chime in as well.
Right. Now, I will admit, I do know we have a little bit of historical references to wireless electricity. I know you mentioned earlier Nikola Tesla. And now, granted, I got these from like some conspiracy theory documentaries that are fun because I really just like to see where that goes because it's always, and I mean always, a rabbit hole.
Okay.
So, from my understanding, it was early 1900s that Nikola Tesla was actually doing that wireless electricity. He had these big towers, which I'm assuming would be your transformers, and he used the actual earth, like the ground, to ground the electricity to actually build the wireless electricity, like to actually be broadcast. Now, its efficacy was only up to about 2,000 feet, like just under 600 meters.
Okay.
And then it just kind of falled off and fizzled out. So I'm assuming in this case, it would be something similar that's coming into the house. So I guess actually you wouldn't really notice, right? Because I figured during the development of the technology, you would have whatever receiver that you would need or repeater attached to the house and then hooked up to your current wiring, kind of like what they do with solar panels now. So instead of having like a battery system, you can actually connect up to the grid. I guess in this case, you would just cut that line and then pull the energy from the
Sure.
receiver.
So that brings it's still that doesn't answer my question because it brings the energy to the house.
Right, but you're talking about actually
Once
in the
it gets
house.
to the house, that's where, because getting it to the house,
right?
that's easy,
Oh yeah,
right? We're already doing that. Once it gets to the house, how would we, how do we, before we get into integration of other technologies inside the house?
I love how you read my mind just now.
Right. But how do we disperse it through the house? What I was explaining earlier is
Right.
with computer networking and Wi-Fi,
It's APs.
or as the Deves likes to call it, Wi-Fi. We
I do.
so we have wireless. You still got landline coming into that router that's then dispersing it wirelessly, and you're
Right.
delivering, IPs over DHCP,
Right.
whatever. But how would electricity? Let's get our brains churning for a minute.
Okay.
How would electricity disperse through the house? And you brought up something earlier, safety concerns. Obviously, if I've got a
Pacemaker.
and I'm sitting in that house, I'm going to have a hell of a day.
Oh yeah. So I guess in that case, there would have to be some form of beam forming, right? Just like with a wireless router, wherever you're at, connected to the network, it isolates that signal directly at the device that's connected. So I would assume we would program the wireless the same. And in my head, I'm seeing like Glade, pay attention. Wall plugins that look like little glades, and they
Okay.
just repeat the signal wirelessly out.
Okay, so similar to a Wi-Fi repeater that
Exactly.
exists already today.
Yeah.
So you're
I know I'm
So-
still trapped in like how
so
the
wait,
world actually works.
So wait, you're still. So where are you plugging those in?
Wall outlets.
So you're.
Yes.
So,
I know.
let's back up for a minute. The whole idea here, Sam, the IT guy, is to eliminate outlets. That's
what you were aiming
that. Well, I don't know. I mean,
Right.
in my brain, the way my brain works, is let's evolve this technology to the point where it comes to the house, then showers you with electricity. Now, I have a weird feeling someone out in the audience is going, "Oh my God, these people are on crack," because that will destroy our kidneys and livers, and they're probably right.
Right.
But these are the kinds of things. This is the type of technology that I think would change the world. We've taken everything else wireless. What about electricity? If we didn't have outlets anymore and everything just frickin' worked,
Oh man.
think about it.
No, I see. what
Right
you're
now,
saying.
you buy a camera.
Right.
Right? You buy a camera. If you want to put it in a remote area in your house, you have to either have an outlet up there near the camera, or you
Right.
have to have a battery pack in that camera that you have to change
Mhm.
every so often.
Okay.
So let's think about that. If you were to shower electricity in the house, you wouldn't need that outlet up there because that camera is going to integrate with it.
Right.
And maybe we get over the safety concerns by the electricity only coming down
A certain amount.
or beaming in certain areas
That's what I'm thinking.
to cover those things. And maybe that's how you get around maybe that's how you get around, guidelines
Right.
of what and be able to build this technology out.
Absolutely. So in that one, as you continue to explain exactly what you're looking for, my idea just continues to evolve. I haven't given up on it yet.
Sam, the IT guy,
Yeah, here
you're
we
too
go.
calm.
I am
Digital Boardwalk
stubborn.
has been good to you. So now I need
It's
your
true.
brain to kick back into high gear, and I need you to give me something.
All right, here you go. So, what we do is develop new hardware for your devices that integrates similarly like a PCB and a network card. So, something that would receive the wireless transmission and be able to expand the signal itself. Because as the signal's going through the power
Got it.
lines and it condenses and condenses and condenses, once it hits the one to expand it, we just put what expands it in the actual device itself. So, wireless in the air is harmless because it's not that high of a voltage. However, if you have a device that can read the signal and expand it, you never have to worry about power.
So if we could bring voltages down on devices somehow by keeping the wattage at a similar rate,
right.
and we shower it with a certain spectrum of electricity, then we could possibly defeat this idea.
Potentially. I know the biggest problem with the wireless power issue is just how much it dissipates as it expands, as it goes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that would be the first order of business, is extending the range without, increasing the risk of electric.
But if you break electricity down into packets,
Right. Oh, that's smart.
let's talk about that.
Okay.
if you think of electricity like we think of bandwidth when it comes to the internet.
Absolutely.
Now, someone out there that's really smart is listening to this,
Right.
going, these guys are so stupid.
Right. They're like, can you Google something first?
But that's not the point of the show. The point of the show is to get everybody thinking about
Absolutely.
the what ifs.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about this. How do you envision wireless electricity integrating with current home and office technologies? And what would be the first major changes we would see? Now, what I'm talking about is once you have the electricity showering into the home,
Right. Level amount.
Where do you see the evolution happening in the devices inside of that home, and how would it end? We talked about cameras, like
Right.
little wireless cameras. That would be amazing.
Oh,
you
it's so nice
You wouldn't need
to run cabling.
or batteries. You wouldn't
That's
have
true.
to change out batteries. So
Yeah.
there's one aspect of it.
Mhm.
Can either of you think of another aspect? I'm waiting.
My brain just was like, hey, everything that you guys were talking about, forget about it. Can you refresh me? My brain.
Deeves, what are you thinking back there? You have access to Google in your production chair, and
Oh yeah, why aren't you fact checking us?
so you should be fact checking us and going, you guys are dumbasses.
Yes, please.
Look, it would just be me talking on everything. Something that I know is interesting about, both of y'all talking about pacemakers being an issue,
Right.
is that something that I know has happened with wireless chargers for phones is that it has to be a very direct view, path. Nothing can be between it, because between the object that you're trying to charge or give power and the thing charging it. So that might defeat that pacemaker because it can't, or not defeat the pacemaker because it can't actually penetrate anything.
So let's talk about that. So if you had electricity somehow coming down into your ceiling that is powering some sort of pad
Right.
that might be lining your wall,
Right. Or in that case,
you
'cause-
could electrify. And then, of course, if there's a short, your children get electrocuted and they're all dead. So, but
Right.
something to think about. I mean, I'm picturing cabling coming down, powering a wall, a padded wall that basically houses electricity, passes code. Maybe they use some sort of shielding that is built into it that doesn't radiate outside of that wall.
Right.
But now your wall, potentially anything you connect to it, a hanging camera, a TV,
Ooh,
a
that'd be cool.
speaker system, you name it, it immediately has power.
Just automatically.
Just automatically. Yeah.
That's great. I guess another route that you could take with that would be just like with Wi-Fi, right? Where we have 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. 5
There you
gigahertz.
go, two spectrums.
Right. You get the better speeds off 5 gigahertz, but it doesn't propagate through solid objects as well. So I guess if you really wanted to build in a failsafe, you would just have to get it in a high enough frequency.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My brain going
Yeah.
overdrive.
No, that's interesting to note, because that's how pretty much all of our technologies have come to pass. Governmental regulations and code is, they have to go through a myriad of that. And then finally they go, oh, we're safe on this spectrum.
Right.
Or we're safe on this spectrum. That's why wireless electricity doesn't exist, is because it's just not safe.
Yeah. It's gotta be.
So, and I talked about ways to, one of the questions would be, how do you mitigate those concerns with consumers?
Right.
We talked about shielding in a wall. If you're bringing in electricity, if it's line of sight or direct, it has to be a certain distance between the two objects.
Mhm.
Get it? I mean, if I take a wireless charger now and I stick it on someone's chest that has a pacemaker, that's probably not a good idea.
Probably not.
So we're not going to do that. So let's talk about something that really is burning my brain right now. And staying on this topic, the impact on energy consumption around the globe. So could wireless electricity lead to higher energy consumption? Right?
Okay.
People are going to use more devices
if
they have more places to put them. Or would it promote energy efficiency? So how do we balance convenience and sustainability? So taking two sides of the spectrum, you've got to be able to balance and make it a long-term thing, but be able to, kind of balance the teeter between those two. So
Right.
would it be higher energy consumption or would it create more efficiency? I think it would do both.
I think it would as well, because especially starting out, like developing the technology, you're going to be wasting like about 60% of the power that's output via wireless, at least with what we have currently. Because even your normal wireless charging pads, there's a vast amount of inefficiency that's used in them. So I would say initially, it would be almost triple the power consumption. But as the technology develops and gets down, if everyone has access to power whenever, and I'm assuming in this case we're going full on utopia type deal where it's like you're not paying a monthly bill for power, it's just there.
It's just there.
It's just there.
Oh, you're going to pay for it.
Of course.
It's never going to be free.
Yeah. Just with like, some kind of neural disorder from all the wireless electricity going through your brain.
So talking about the monetary aspects of it, what kind of economic impact could widespread adoption of wireless electricity have, especially in terms of the utility and consumer electronic industries?
Oh, man.
There, it's going to boost consumer electronics.
Right.
I mean, you're going to get more of a widespread adoption if it's easier for people to install.
Right.
Look what happened with technology that we see now. It's so easy. Like, do you remember the days?
I might.
When mobile devices didn't exist. Well, I remember the days. PCs were very cumbersome because you were dealing with Windows and they always had viruses, whatever. And it was all localized, right? It wasn't, like we know now where it's widespread cybersecurity events and things like that. But, if you have consumer electronics that you basically turn on, they immediately power up. Right. You don't ever worry about plugging them in, dealing with a bunch of cables, and they immediately not only connect to your wireless electricity, but your Wi-Fi.
Right.
You don't do anything. It's just magic.
Oh, that's awesome. That's how most technology feels nowadays too, though. Like even us, right? Like we're with MSPs, like I do the vast majority of my job remotely because I'm just jumping into it from that distance. So I don't even know how that would look, trying to think about it. How does that expand further with power?
I mean, the birth of Digital Boardwalk was because of the widespread adoption of high bandwidth and the technology that evolved because of high-speed internet and high bandwidth.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of other technologies, streaming services. I mean, come on. If we were trying to stream on dial-up, would that be...
Not even possible.
No.
Not even remotely.
Hell, back in the day, we tried it.
Oh, man.
And oh my God, it was so horrible. And you couldn't get through a minute of a show because you talk about buffering. There was no buffering. It was just paused. So, So, last question I have on this topic before we down our next beer.
All right.
Which it looks like you finished. So, Sam, I like Sam the IT guy. I like having you on the show because you're not a beer wimp.
Right. No, not at all.
No, this is good.
You don't need to bust out your bottle nipples for me. I'm not going to nurse any of these guys.
So let's talk about beyond just charging devices, and this is the last question I have on this subject. Beyond just charging devices, what other innovative applications could emerge from wireless electricity technology in the next decade? So this is a good segue into our next segment.
Right.
Actually, our third segment that's coming later, autonomous vehicles.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. But we got to get through personal assistance first, and I'll talk about that. But
sweet.
If you have an autonomous vehicle, an electric vehicle, right? And you've got wireless electric. I mean, you're just pulling it in your garage and the darn thing's just charging away. You're not plugging it in.
No, not at all.
Think about it.
Yeah, because it would be charging wherever you're going. In fact, you could probably, depending on how consistent the actual wireless electricity power grid is.
Right.
I mean, you could even start building these without batteries in them, make them even safer because then they can just run off the ambient energy in the air. So I feel like that would be the next logical step. Would be that's, and I think you're right. That's why I would start out with like being way more power consumption, and the only focus on that technology to drive it further is just going to be making it more and more efficient,
and more efficient
until that's a possibility.
And what if it was limited? So what if it evolved over the years? Obviously, they have to go through developing it and making it safe and all of that. And maybe they start by limiting it to just major roads and highways.
Oh, yeah.
And so your cars from the roads and the highways all the way to your garage stay charged. So there's your...
I'm just over here like, it would be so nice to pay $300 a month less.
There's your
just over here on free power.
That would overcome range anxiety.
It would.
And you know, all these the young generation is that Gen Y or Z, the ones that are my son's age now, around 13, they're going to grow up with electric cars.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not going to know how to change oil. They're not going to know how to put a gas pump. You know, mine will. Mine will always know old school and new school technologies, because I want them to understand what if all of this breaks.
Exactly.
Cyber event.
Oh, yeah.
World, you know, a world event that takes out all these grids. You still want to know how to survive. And one of those survival techniques is knowing, if anybody has watched Fallout.
Crawl out to the fallout, baby.
Anybody that's watched Fallout knows you got to get old school with it.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So cars are one thing. Being able to pull a car in the garage and just let it charge, that's a good first step. I mean, if your garage just had a shower of electricity. I'm trying to think of some other things. Some people, you know, have an RV pad next to their house. I know I do. And I have to plug into an extra, you know, box outside of the house. What if I didn't?
Yeah.
What if I just backed it in? The darn thing worked. It stayed working.
It's just good to go. Plus, RV parks would be popping. Oh, man.
All right. So, we're going to get into our next topic, which is AI personal assistants and the evolution of that and what the future might hold for that. Before we do, let's down our second beer. The Deves, take it away.
So our second beer today is a classic Sam Adams Boston Lager. This comes from Sam Adams Boston Beer Company. No surprise there, in Boston, Massachusetts.
I don't believe you.
It's what the sheet says, and the sheet cannot lie. It's a smooth German-style lager with a slightly sweet roasted malts, notes of caramel, toffee, and a distinct noble hop character with a subtle piney citrus. It ends with a crisp finish that makes you want another.
So, always like having these close as well. They're a good, especially, I go more to my Boston lagers in the fall and winter time. And they have a good winter lager.
Oh, yeah. It's real spicy.
Well, it's just got more of a full-bodied taste. In the summertime, I like to stay with my light pilsners and but
when you're sweating your body weight out every day in sweat because Florida, it would make sense.
Cheers, Sam, the IT guy.
Cheers, boss.
All right, so we're going to get into AI personal assistants. And what I want to kick this segment off with, I want to get our audience thinking about the future of this technology from all different perspectives. Like similar to what we touched on with electricity, I want to talk about, you know, safety and privacy aspects. I mean, that's obviously on everybody's mind. My first question to you, Sam, the IT guy, what if your AI assistant didn't just respond to your commands? I mean, we all know what that is, right? But what if it anticipated your needs before you even realized them? So that
I will start this with a personal anecdote that is something I definitely stole from a meme. My wife and I the other day were just talking about this, and I told her that we needed to, you know, keep our guns in the house. Like, we don't need to get rid of the guns. We need to hold on to them just in case. And she was like, "Why do we need them? We're in a safe neighborhood. No one's trying to mess with us."
Right.
And I was like, "Well, you never know when the toaster might act up." And then she started laughing. I started laughing. The toaster started laughing. I shot the toaster all over.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You know, we're not here to talk about guns, but there are huge national debates. And
that was for the joke.
It's very polarized. as
Understandably.
far as guns. But if there is a national event and grids go out and all of that, there
Right.
will be civil unrest. Now, we don't want everybody out there shooting everybody.
Right? No, not at all.
But, you know, I get the argument about I need to protect my family.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it kind of takes you back to the 1800s.
Right.
Right. And what a lot of people don't realize is just like that, you know, I mean, think about it. Some people, I think groceries grow in a grocery store.
It's fair.
Like they just appear on the shelves magically. I mean, those things don't just happen. So if you have a national event, that stuff's going to dry up because your farmers are involved in it. I mean, everybody, imports, all of that is affected. So, you know, you have to learn to forage and find and figure it out. And I worry, you know, about those types of things. But let's get back. We're thinking about the wrong things on this episode. What are the next big capabilities we can expect from personal AI assistants in the coming years? How will these advances change our daily interactions with technology?
Bold opinion here. Actually, I don't think it's bold. I think it's actually extremely reasonable. It's not going to be recognizable. This is something that's going to flip everything on its head because right now, you know, AI seems like scary but manageable. But right now, you have to realize that AI is not in its final form yet. Like it's multimodal. Right. There's different modes of it. So the next logical step, once they have every single module of an AI you can imagine, is then combining them all. And then that's where we would be looking at like actual AI technology. Right now, now granted, it's mostly Google Assistant that, you know, I end up fighting with occasionally. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to play a song in your car, but
Google Assistant, people talk to Alexa, Siri, all of these are AI assistants, right?
Right. I do believe those are just voice assistants. They don't actually have like an AI model behind them.
So no AI model behind them. So no machine learning.
I think the only one that I know of.
ChatGPT.
Right. The only one that I know of right now that actually has it built into the phone, I think was Samsung's newest flagship.
Okay.
And I think there was actually a subscription involved. I'd have to double check. I don't actually know for sure. So, but that's can you imagine like these things going full bore? And like you're in that moment where you have like, for me, like 10 different calls that are coming in and you just need to get a message or two to somebody and you go, hey, assistant, I need you to let everyone know who's trying to get in touch with me right now that I'll get back with them as soon as possible and that I will like follow up very soon.
And then just have it make all the
and then
notifications.
It just handles it all.
Yeah.
Because the AI, instead of it being one person at a time, like you or I would, like that phone can ring all of them at the same time, giving them different information and carrying on different conversations. Like it is next level. Now, I don't know. Now I know you mentioned Fallout because, boy, I love me some Fallout.
Yeah.
But another universe that really just kind of like hammers in the ideas of what AI could be would of course be Cyberpunk. If you've ever heard about that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wonderful property altogether. And by the way, Fallout is a cyberpunk story. I can prove it.
Yeah.
It has all the elements you need for it to be classified as cyberpunk. That's cyberpunk right there. You have RoboCop as cyberpunk and Fallout. Like they both are. So with AI, it's one of those where it's like, it literally can go anywhere. Because being a big sci-fi nerd growing up throughout the years, I've read and listened and participated in multiple different AI stories, right? Like Westworld would be a wonderful example of an AI story.
Didn't the same makers of Westworld make Fallout?
Yes, actually, no. Or was that
I'm pretty
no,
sure.
I think it was Game of Thrones.
Oh, come on.
Look at it's Westworld.
The ghoul,
right.
Number one looks extremely similar to one of the main characters in Westworld.
You're fair. You're
and I do believe it was created by either the same producers.
Right.
I think it's the same producers of Westworld. Yeah.
I think I got thrown off because I'm pretty sure it was the guys who did Game of Thrones and I think they also did Westworld. They also had for like the ambient music, it was Ramin Djawadi. I mispronounced the bejesus out of his name. Google always understands me.
Okay.
But he was actually the one who composed the music for Westworld and Game of Thrones, and he also helped with some of the normal ones for Fallout too.
I think Westworld producers also made The Peripheral.
The Peripheral?
Yeah, okay. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Right.
It's a series.
Hey,
but-
Tom, could you check for us? Like who D's? Oh, D's.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I am such a novice.
It looks like Westworld was created by Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy,
Okay.
and Fallout is created by Graham Wagner and Geneva Robertson Dworet.
So cross-reference Westworld and Fallout and see if those are related. And then we are going to try to stay on topic here.
Right.
Continue to talk about personal assistants.
Of course. But I mean, at the same time, Westworld would be the best personal assistance ever, because then you're just like, hey, can you go to McDonald's for me real quick? I'm feeling a Big Mac. And then they can just hop in their car and go grab it and bring it back to me. It'd make me so happy.
But
And-
you know what would be even better than that?
What's
We're
that?
talking about future technologies. And when I
Right.
think about existing technologies that we have today, a lot of existing technologies we have today relate to old movies and TV shows I watched in the 70s and 80s. So
I actually have an anecdote for that.
So the Jetsons. Everybody kind of references the Jetsons. I watched the Jetsons when I was little. The Jetsons, video conferencing. I mean, they talked on a TV, right? They saw and heard each other on a TV. They had flying cars that were autonomous,
Right.
or mostly autonomous. They had personal assistants. They had
Yes.
it was built into their was it the robot or the apartment they lived in? I can't remember, but
I think it was both, wasn't it?
but one of the things,
Yeah.
you talked about food, going down the road, getting a Big Mac.
Oh.
What if food was micronized, right, into about the size of a pill, and
Okay.
you just popped it into a device, and now you have a roast.
Oh, that's like Back to
So-
the Future.
That's right.
Yeah,
it was
with
but it
Pizza
was
Hut.
also, I think they did it on the Jetsons also.
I believe so, yeah.
So, and Steven Spielberg probably got that idea from the Jetsons.
Oh,
So-
absolutely.
But if you look at all those old shows,
Mhm.
things that exist now and are the reality now
Right.
were actually in old movies and TV shows. So the movies and TV shows we're watching now,
There's probably a couple of gems in there, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, some of the things that we might realize in the future. So let's talk about. Go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, I know the big one for me, like my favorite example of that is Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Like you can straight
Look
up,
at the phones. I
Oh,
mean,
the phones.
mobile phones.
and even like in Next Generation, they had full blown tablets. Like they're rocking
Beam me
around.
up, Scotty.
Yes. There are times where I can play off being like, have no idea what happened just now, and no one notices, but that was not one of those moments.
So the biggest thing that comes to mind with AI assistants is privacy. I mean,
Yes.
you already have Alexa listening to you nonstop, Siri's actually listening to you, but they don't necessarily learn from you.
Right.
There are privacy concerns there because that is being recorded somewhere
Yeah.
to assist with the evolution of that technology. So it's really hard to hide from the world when you have that technology in your house.
Oh, yeah.
With AI assistants becoming more integrated into our personal lives, what are the main privacy concerns users should be aware of, and how can we address them? So, I just explained it. I mean, they're being
Right.
but if an AI assistant that can learn from your input,
Mhm.
and it knows your daily activities,
Right.
and it knows
Everything.
when do the lines of reality and fiction come into play? I mean, think about it for a minute. Deeves, I know you're at back there. Your brain is just churning sideways right now. You are itching to tell us something.
Look, we're always on the next great piece of technology. I mean, talking about AI and personal assistants, a big piece that has been happening recently that we've seen not very good success in are these lapel pins, where you have a camera lapel pin that connects to your phone that is a powered AI assistant that sees, so you can already just be like, what's in front of me? What am I looking at right now? And the current iterations aren't great, but usually the first iteration of any new technology isn't.
Who makes that technology?
Well, there's two that I know of. Are you talking about Rabbit and Humane?
Rabbit and Humane. Yep.
Okay.
Humane Technologies and Rabbit. Rabbit was the one that famously right now isn't doing so hot. They had a pretty bad product launch, and then big reviewers all kind of gave them thumbs down, and I believe they're filing for bankruptcy. So
I wouldn't be surprised because there's actually a little bit of a development with that too. There was a guy who was actually able to crack into it, and come to find out, the Rabbit, the whole device, which is like I think it's like a $400 device, and then like there's a monthly subscription. 400. Okay. And then they found out that it's really just an APK that's loaded into it. So the guy was actually able to go through and run it as an application on his phone, and it worked better.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rabbit runs on an Android OS. So it is essentially an Android app. The reason that they wanted to push it to its own device was because there were privacy concerns with having some type of technology like that attached to your phone where it can reach everything at all times.
That is actually your app. That's a good reason. I actually didn't find that. Thank you for telling me that. That's actually very helpful.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that it is really hard to escape your footprint on this earth these days. When I was growing up as a kid, it was easy to get lost.
Oh, absolutely.
Without being found. Now,
can you imagine growing up if all of your friends had cameras in their pockets?
yeah.
Yeah, it would be terrible. It'd be,
Oh.
So many dumb things back then. so many.
I believe Asa, you about as old as me?
Just about, yeah. I was 89.
Yeah, 92. So
Sam, the IT guy, by the way.
Oh, Sam, the IT guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
we did grow up in that era where when we were teenagers, cell phones were flip phones,
Right.
and now it's almost mandatory to get your child a phone when they start going to school.
I mean, even when they start.
Look, you youngsters. When I was a teenager, me and my buddies, you can't touch that yet, Sam, the IT guy. He's trying to reach for the third beer.
Is that a Nerds on Tap first?
Yes. We're almost there. When I was a teenager, when me and my buddies wanted to stay in communication so we knew where the next party was,
Right.
or hey, where you at tonight?
Yeah.
We used CB radio.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had CB. I had a sports car, but I had a CB in it because I would tune in on Friday night and go, this is the Maniac. That was my handle back then.
That's a good man.
Trying to reach it was my buddy Jarrett, and we would find each other and we would find the party. So listen, we talked about it. We talked about privacy concerns. We know about the impact on productivity. So we're not going to get into it. That is crazy to the moon. Ethical AI use. I mean, there are ethical considerations that developers should consider and keep in mind when creating these assistants.
Right.
Especially as they become more autonomous and decision capable, because we don't want them to go, Sam, the IT guy, you just pissed me off. Now I'm going to go tell all your friends on social media, because I'm connected through you to that platform, and I'm going to tell them how much you suck. So, we don't want that, right? I mean, think about that. People don't think about what if those things happen. So for the sake of time, we are going to jump into our final segment. Sam, the IT guy, has been reaching for the third beer. So, Deeves, take it away.
Okay, so for our third beer, we've got the Holiday White Ale. This is also a Sam Adams product. So this is coming from their Boston Beer Company in Boston, Massachusetts. This is crisp and zesty with holiday flavors like cinnamon, nutmeg, and a dusting of orange peel.
A dusting.
It tastes a little like cider to me, but it's definitely beer.
Okay, this isn't my favorite.
I think it might be,
but it is somehow it's making me joyous.
Right? If my beard starts turning white, we know it's the right kind of holidays.
So I will tell you guys this, my personal preference, I don't like nutty in my beer.
Oh, fair.
This does have a slight, was it a dusting of nutty?
The dusting was of the orange peel, but it does have nutmeg.
So I do like the orange peel. The orange peel, I'm a big old-fashioned drinker, so I like a
Right up your alley.
good, really rich bourbon old-fashioned, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
got an orange peel in it. But the nuts are what's killing it for me with this. But I will drink it.
Oh yeah, that's good. For me, I actually tend to use nuts as my snack. It was actually something that, believe it or not, is actually really healthy. I switched from like chips, like potato chips and all fried stuff, and started eating nuts instead.
Yeah, no, I eat nuts.
Oh, but nutties.
So what kind of nuts do you eat?
Uh,
These nuts? All right.
The Deeves nuts.
Oh my God.
Okay, we can just end it here.
That was it. I win.
Sam, the IT guy's only on his third beer and he's going off the rails, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. We're going to get it. Come on.
It was right in front of me, literally. Like I'm staring at him.
All right.
How
All
was
right.
to not?
All right. All right. So we're going to get into our last subject. We're going to talk about autonomous vehicles everywhere.
Awesome.
All right. So here's the question I posed to everybody. What if, what if every car on the road was autonomous? Every single car. Get rid of gas cars. Get rid of just regular electric cars. Get rid of all that. Obviously they're all going to be electric.
Right.
But they're all going to be autonomous. So every car on the road's autonomous. Think of the decrease in traffic accidents.
Oh yeah.
We'll get into that because I think that's going to be a major topic. And congestion. So the major decrease in traffic accidents and congestion. Go.
Oh, absolutely. Because for me, just to touch back on our previous subject, I don't think they will be fully autonomous. I think our AI friends will be driving them. So that way you don't have to worry about someone like just automations failing. Instead, you have, someone or a machine that can actually think and reason and have judgment calls.
So what was that movie? The End of the World? End of the World? Have you seen that yet?
The one with Franco and Danny McBride and
I don't know who. I don't think that's who was in it. But
Okay.
There's a movie called End of the World where basically there was a major cyber attack.
Okay.
And every autonomous Tesla
Right.
was driving down the same route and all piling on top of one another because they were all hacked.
Oh,
And
that's scary.
That was just one incident.
Yeah.
Obviously, they took down the communication grid. They
Yeah.
took down the transportation grid.
Okay.
And they, amongst obviously the internet and all of that was out. But when you think about that stuff and you think about autonomy,
Right.
right? So what if? So yes, we think about the decrease in traffic accidents and congestion. That is wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. That's great when it works.
Of course.
So what happens? You talked about AI assistants in the car. Obviously, an AI assistant will drive that car. No more DUIs.
None.
There's the pro. So you leave a bar, you get in your car, and all you do is kick back and say, "Car, take me home," and you're home.
That's it.
You wake up in your car, and maybe one day the robot will come out, grab you out of the car, take you in the house, throw you in the bed, and
Thanks,
slip
Rosie.
it off. Yeah, thanks, Rosie. But what if? And this is where this comes into play. We want to look at the dark side of this technology.
Yeah.
So you have an AI assistant driving it. That's great. Right. So all that's peachy keen.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we have a major cyber attack?
Right.
Takes down, let's say that the car manufacturers, obviously autonomy comes with updates because you're driving a computer.
Okay.
And what if an update gets pushed into every single autonomous car on the planet that tells those cars on, whatever date,
Right.
it says, hey, on this date at this time, I want all the cars to go to a certain destination, or I want all the cars to shut down. So you have two different completely different variables here. If they all go to the same destination, the ones that are sitting inside the garage are going to try to bang through the garage doors.
Yeah.
The one, and most of them will be, but if it does it in the middle of the day,
Right.
every single car is going to leave where they are and drive to a destination, and they're all going to. I don't know that they'll pile on one top of one another like in that movie because they do have sensors on them.
Right.
But that destination could be the ocean.
Absolutely.
It's not, it may not see that. I don't know. What if they shut down? What if they just literally shut down? What does that do to people? How does that create civil unrest? And what does it do to the economy? Because now a lot of people work remotely nowadays.
Oh yeah.
But think, what if? What will that do to the stock market alone? It will tank.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of companies won't be doing what they need to do.
Right.
But look at the safety concerns there too.
Yeah. And the other big part of, because any part of the human condition is socialization, because at the end of the day, we're all social animals. So if it's one of those where, the world just is like, all right, so we're going to go ahead and jack every car on the planet. You can't drive anymore. And everyone ends up going remote. Like, I feel like it would be just a massive wave of depression that would hit, kind of like COVID 2.0.
Well, it would be more than depression. You would, if people couldn't get to where they have to get, now that's one thing.
Right.
But if they can't get to where they get, now I want to put this into a bigger perspective for everybody listening out there right now.
All right.
We're just talking about cars.
Yeah.
But what I meant to say was, what if every vehicle on the planet was autonomous?
Oh.
Every vehicle.
Planes,
let's
boats,
slow down. Let's just dial it down a notch.
Okay.
Every vehicle. So let's talk about buses, trains, and even planes being fully. What's that?
18-wheelers. I mean, your
Yeah.
interstate commerce would shut down.
Yes. So that's where I'm going with this. So 18-wheelers are already becoming, you've seen the Tesla trucks, the autonomous Tesla trucks. So if they can't deliver groceries to the grocery store, even if you can't drive to work, you can't even get groceries because they're not in. A lot of people use delivery services now. They're not going to be delivered because they can't drive.
Right.
You're not going to get groceries from the farmers to the market.
Mm-hmm.
So those are going to dry up and go away.
Right.
Now you have airplanes that can't fly because they're autonomous. Or
made by Boeing.
And my initial question was, what if they all went to a specific destination? So now you have a major safety event.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it's in the ocean.
Massive.
So all those planes go into the ocean, all those buses go into the ocean, all the cars go into the ocean, all the trains derail, obviously, and, just go at a high speed, whatever. Those are things of concern. And all that comes down to specifically cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is going to drive our planet moving forward, in my opinion, because without 100%. Cybersecurity, really good, but it doesn't matter how good it is because you're always going to have somebody on the other side fighting it.
Right.
In the old days, it didn't matter how high a castle fortified its walls or how wide it built its moats. You always had someone trying to cross and climb.
And always people who were innovating and finding ways of doing it.
Yeah.
So
figure out a way to fling a bigger rock.
Now, another thing that I'm really curious about is going to be, now I know this isn't a topic we're going to jump into today, but that's going to lead directly into like future of cybersecurity. What does that look like in the quantum computing world?
We're going to get into quantum computing in another episode of What If. But I want to pose a couple more questions and stay on the topic
100%.
of autonomous vehicles before we drink our last beer and toast and say goodbye to Sam, the IT guy. Or
goodbye. Oh, man. I just got hired.
So,
trial period.
Impact on urban planning.
Okay.
Impact on urban planning. How do you think autonomous vehicles will reshape urban planning and infrastructure in the next 20 years, particularly in densely populated cities? So densely populated, let's think New York City.
Yeah.
How is it going to reshape the way they plan those roads. And I mean, you can't really change a lot.
Right.
I mean, you've got the subway. I mean, if you think everything's autonomous, right?
Yes.
We're thinking everything autonomous. So the subway in New York is now autonomous.
Right.
The cars, I mean, I just came back from New York City. I mean, we rode the subway a lot.
Right.
And it was interesting. It was very eye-opening on, and it was obviously very efficient.
Oh yeah.
I liked it, but now it's autonomous. Now it shuts down. I mean, I'm still thinking about this stuff shutting down.
Right.
What would that? Oh my God, what would that do to New York City? But it did shut down during COVID. And I talked to some locals up in New York City about that, and oh my God, they were all like, they're still talking about that and how it affected them and their daily lives. But staying on with urban planning, how do you guys think it is going to change the way all that looks and feels?
I've got the feeling, and I know this is going to be slightly funny. I feel like it's going to be 10 times easier because you're removing the human element. You're removing the problem. So everything's going to do as it's told because it's technology. They're all autonomous. So when you're planning and building, it's much more easier to execute that because you're not going to have some guy who's like, no, this is the route I take to work every day. You don't have to worry about not knowing another path. You know what I mean? So I feel like it would actually be a boon for it.
So all they would have to do is integrate the new technology into the existing infrastructure, and you're saying that's all they would have to do.
Right. And then once they do that, once it's fully adopted, right? Because right now, if you have like a split of automated cars versus ones that are actually going through, that are people who are driving manually, you can't predict anything because humans in general, we're all very unpredictable. So if you have it over to technology and it's just a few lines of code that is what they're doing, then you can predict and thus change it however you need because no one's going to mess you up.
Right. So autonomous vehicles, oh my God, just we're on the cusp.
Right. I was thinking about that the other day. I was talking to my wife, right? We're going through a bunch of different YouTube channels, because we tend to veer towards the more educational stuff. And she looked at me and she was just like, do you feel like everything we watched growing up is becoming real, right now?
It's becoming real.
It's all becoming real.
Sam, the IT guy.
Yes, sir.
I have been watching things since I was a little kid. I was born in 1969.
Nice.
Hey, a lot of great things happened that year. We landed on the moon, Woodstock, and Shoop Dog was born.
I mean, Snoop Dogg is a gift.
No, I'm Shoop Dog.
Shoop Dogg is a gift.
Snoop Dogg's a rapper.
Show the proper respect to Shoop Dog.
Yeah. I'm just
what kind of stuff has he done?
I'm just a crapper. I don't know.
Me too.
I don't know. But listen, I was born a long time ago.
Right.
And when I grew up, I was a 70s kid. I was an 80s teenager, which 80s was rocked. I'm sorry, but we just had a great time in the 80s. We didn't think about a lot of stuff. We just did. But things I watched in the 70s are real now as we speak. So let's put that into perspective. And some of the things in the 80s are real. But most of the things that were developed, the PC was actually the PC was more developed in the 80s. Right. But in the 70s, Microsoft came out in the 70s and 80s. I saw the evolution of TV. I mean, the norm in the 70s was a 20-inch console. It was basically a big wooden box with a CRT in it that wasn't any bigger than 20 or 25 inches.
Little boob tubes.
Yeah, the original projection TV was a rear projection, or actually it was a front projection TV where the projectors jetted out from the front of the TV and shot up at it. I
didn't know that.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Oh, I had a friend that had one of those in their house. I thought he was rich. It was crazy. Well, he was because he lived on Braddock Mountain, but I have watched all that. So let's put that into perspective. So some of the technologies that I watched on TV in the 70s, which these are shows that came out in the 60s, like the Jetsons. I think it came out in the 60s. Fast forward, and those became a reality, like video conferencing. We're talking the 2000s.
Right.
So 70, 80, 90, 2000, 2010.
Right.
40 years. So if you see something on TV that is just far-fetched,
Right.
but you see it in more than one movie,
Yeah.
40 years later, it's going to become a reality.
Huh.
What if?
What if?
What if?
Well, that explains AI.
So in future episodes, we're going to talk about space exploration for the consumer, jumping from planet to planet, because now we obviously go from country to country. We fly over an ocean.
Right.
I mean, that was unheard of back in the day.
Absolutely.
It's a reality now. So it's not a far-fetched idea to go from planet to planet once the safety concerns and everything are addressed.
Right.
I mean, anybody that's watched Apollo 13 is afraid to get in
oh, you want to catch me dead in one.
But again, that was based on a flight that happened, in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yes, sir.
So staying on this topic, let's talk about, we kind of talked about urban planning, which kind of goes hand in hand with regulatory challenges. Safety and security. We talked about cybersecurity events with autonomous vehicles. So there are safety and security concerns.
Yeah.
And the final question on autonomous vehicles before we drink our last beer and toast this episode is economic shifts. So autonomous vehicles promise to change the economic landscape significantly. Yeah. Right? Wouldn't you agree?
100%.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What industries do you think will be most affected, and how might new job opportunities arise as a result? This is a good one.
For automated vehicles?
Autonomous vehicles
Okay.
will change the economic landscape.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, I mean, if you think about that, I mean, there are more than just the car industry that's going to be effective if you're creating an autonomous vehicle, because you have developers.
Right.
You have car makers. I mean, and it's different than making a car. I mean, look at the freaking Cybertruck. I mean, it looks like a freaking refrigerator on wheels.
Right.
It is the ugliest freaking thing I've ever seen, but it's got really cool tech built into it. And it's mega fast. I mean, you put it in, what is it called? The desert mode, or what is that called? There's a mode, Deeves is looking it up, but I think it's called like Sahara mode or desert mode or something. Baja mode. It's called Baja mode. You put it in, you go off-road, you put it in Baja mode, you floor it,
right,
and it freaking hauls ass on the dirt. And there's a YouTube video that I was watching the other day, where they were like camping using that built-in, that tent that you see in the promo videos.
Oh, yeah.
The tent basically sucks.
Okay.
I mean, there's an outlet a foot away from the base of the back of the tent, yet the tent comes with a big inflatable hand pump. There is no automatic pump to pump that tent up. When you watch it in the promo video, it just kind of magically gets bigger.
Right.
Yet you don't see what you have to do to make it do that. You got to use a hand pump. I mean, hell, you're going to throw that much technology into a truck, and why not do it in the tent as well? I mean, they just kind of, some other guy designed that tent that didn't, was on the same plane.
Probably a company that got bought.
So what industries are going to change in regards, economically, in regards to autonomous cars?
I would assume deflation would end up being a problem, because if you think about it, when we're cutting driving, right, fully autonomous driving, so that's going to be unmanned 18-wheelers, like you mentioned. That's going to cut fuel cost, labor costs for the drivers. I mean, time is probably going to stay about the same. So I feel like it would create a natural decline in prices on everything, because it would be cheaper to ship at that point.
I agree. I think once battery technology is the only thing keeping these vehicles at such a high price. It's just not there yet. And we'll talk about that on a future segment of What If. But
solid state batteries, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I could say that even in an industry that I used to work in, moving houses, was that we had to pay insurance companies per driver for our trucks. If these trucks were self-driving, it would almost be the price of the truck is building that in. So
Yeah.
that could be an interesting
Yeah.
bit that would affect things down to even that small. You know,
Yeah.
the guys who deliver the beer to gas stations, they're no longer paying for that service there. So I mean, I'm not even sure what would happen with car insurance.
I think the biggest industry that's going to get affected, in my opinion, is going to be the blue collar Detroit car manufacturers. I think they're, yes, they're still going to exist,
Right.
but I think it's going to be the independent,
Mhm.
the Rivians,
Right.
the Teslas, and some of these other emerging electric vehicle. I think Fisker, they had many
be
problems.
Interesting to see if the people who would work on those lines then switch to working on the bots that build on the lines,
but
as maintainers.
It takes a level
of skill
there, and it's a different level of skill. So I think there might be a shift in the type of worker that you have working at these plants.
Right.
The others might fall on hard times, or they might be at retirement age, and it'll be these younger workers coming up that want to take those spots.
Right.
So it's a natural evolution of technology, but also a natural evolution of skilled people that come into the workplace and evolve from there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So with that, we're going to go ahead and introduce our last beer. Let's get a final toast, and I'll do the outro. Go ahead, Deeves.
Okay, so for our last beer, we've got All Day IPA. It is from Founder Brewing Company, and it is an all-day IPA naturally brewed with a complex array of malts, grains, hops for a balanced citrusy profile and a crisp, clean finish.
Yikes.
It's a,
What
if it's
fruit
the
was
back
that
of the
supposed to be? Did you say a fruit?
Founders Day.
Founders Day?
Founders Day.
Founders Brewing Company.
Founders Brewing Company. But it says Founders Day, I think, on the can. It's an interesting one. Let me get to toast to Sam, the IT guy. You've been great. Sam, the IT guy.
Thank you for having
And
me.
you guys need to keep a lookout for that video that Sam starred in. He did a really great job. He gets attacked by zombies. There's a lot of interesting things that happen in that video. It's circulating on social, Hulu, YouTube, and you can check it out on Digital Boardwalk TV on YouTube if you just want to find it directly.
It's worth a watch. You can watch your own unicycle night in action.
Yeah, he even rides or attempts to ride a unicycle.
What? I was on it.
Didn't you get a concussion making that video?
It was a small one.
Oh, I
can't remember. So.
I saw the workers' comp claim come in, so no, I'm kidding, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, thank you for getting nerdy with us for a little bit and welcoming Sam, the IT guy, to our every other episode segment of What If on Nerds on Tap. Ladies and gentlemen, stay nerdy, stay aware, and always think about what if things happen in the future. Have a great day. Thank you.
And until next time, stay nerdy and keep drinking.
All right. Woohoo! Cheers, my fellow nerds and beer lovers. Stay tuned for more Nerds on Tap. Oh, and one more thing. Help us spread the nerdy love and the love for great brews by sharing this podcast with your friends, colleagues, and fellow beer enthusiasts. Let's build a community that embraces curiosity, innovation, and the enjoyment of a cold one.